Should we be talking about mistakes on this?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, that's so much when I like watch it. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
no,
here's the thing that was like trouble to get right, and here's the thing that was difficult.
Hello, my name's Brendan from Adelaide in Australia, and I am a director for Halfbrick.
Hello, my name's Gordon, and I am a director at Kickstart Entertainment Studios in Vancouver, Canada.
And this is the director's commentary for Fruitful Multiplication, which is the first episode of Fruit Ninja Frenzy Force.
Yeah, this particular episode was storyboarded by a guy named Mike Jones. I think he did a great job of setting the tone for the series. A lot of great action he storyboarded, and the use of all the speed lines and color cards. He had a big hand in that.
This was one of the more successful storyboards, I think. A lot of the action, as you'll see, is pretty spot on with the way it turned out in the final result. So there wasn't much that had to change from animatic to animation. Sometimes there's a lot that you have to adjust or change, or something doesn't translate quite as well to 3D, but this was probably one of our more successful boards, I think.
Absolutely.
It is amazing how much drawing you realize you've done once you've done a storyboard, once you start checking out every individual picture you drew for it. I mean, they whiz by so quickly, and, you know, in 10 seconds you might have drawn about 50 different images.
Yeah, in this series, I think each board averaged somewhere between 900 and 1,000 panels. I think the first storyboard I did was somewhere in the vicinity of 1,100 panels, which is definitely a lot for 11 minutes, but...
Times that by 13, that's a lot of drawing.
Yeah.
So anyone who's played the Fruit Ninja game is familiar with the wooden wall background. This dojo is meant to be an extension of that. It's the place at which all the action in the game occurs. This dojo is featured both in this series and the Origins trailers. It's a key part of the Fruit Ninja universe, and I don't think we could have done a show that didn't feature the dojo.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember there being an error that got really close to going out here when Nia threw the apple and Seb caught it and it was an orange.
Yeah, I was lucky that we caught that just in time.
Should we be talking about mistakes on this?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, that's so much when I like watch it. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, here's the thing that was like trouble to get right, and here's the thing that was difficult.
People don't appreciate how much pain goes into getting a shot right. To everyone else, it's just people standing there, but to us, it's hours and hours of fixing things.
Yeah. Sensei with his ridiculous disguises.
Sensei's disguise got a little more elaborate in the final result.
Yeah.
Not just a pineapple sitting on his head.
That's another part of storyboarding and working on a cartoon in general, is trying to be cognizant of what you will be able to do in whatever medium you're working in. So whether it's 3D or 2D or Flash or something like that, you think about, okay, how are we gonna get all this fruit on this character's head? Is it going to be too much of a challenge to animate when it's actually being produced? So you think about those sort of things. So that sometimes influences the decisions you make.
So it's a first look here at Durian Gray, who players of the Fruit Ninja game might recognize as Rinjin. He appeared a couple of years ago, I think first in the 5-year anniversary update for Fruit Ninja. So this is sort of a Rinjin 2.0, but it is the same guy, and we made that clear in the joke that's coming up. You see him look at the box, and he sees his old name there, so he changes it on the spot.
I remember in an earlier iteration we had 3 different characters on the poster. I'm glad that we wound up changing it to just Durian Rinjin, because it really makes that a lot clearer.
Very short time to absorb a lot of information, so you don't want to overcrowd the shot.
Vincent Tong's performance as Rinjin or Durian is one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to pick a favorite from these voice actors. They all did such a good job, but yeah, Durian is definitely a cool character.
And maybe the only durian we see in the series?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. We need to get more durians in.
I think he chops one, actually, in episode 4.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he does his little French fry spell thing.
Yeah.
Funny seeing the difference between the drawings of the characters versus the final 3D model. A lot of these episodes, storyboards were created before the final models were finished. So there's a lot of guessing as to what the final result's going to look like. But Again, I think this artist did particularly well in predicting the end result.
Yeah, it's cool in storyboards seeing each artist's essentially their shorthand for the characters or for the designs, because nobody really captures the exact look of the designs from any show they're working on. It's usually just their sort of variation of the designs, and yeah, Mike's are super appealing, really fun to watch.
So yeah, obviously a little bit of a callback to the game there with the classic Fruit Ninja bomb. We wanted to get some little bits and pieces from the game into the show, obviously, and have a bit of a crossover there. Our intention was that if you hadn't ever played the Fruit Ninja game, you could still enjoy the series, but if you had, there'd be hidden things everywhere that you would recognize, and it would be a bit of a private joke between the players and the developers. I do like what we did with the alley in the end. It was going to be just a normal a normal stone brick-looking alley, but the addition of the pink light, I think, makes it look cool.
There's some really fun lighting in the series.
I mean yours, master.
But this is interesting. You'll see how Mike Jones treated the fruit golems. The amount of pencil mileage to draw all the individual fruits from the designs. It's not really efficient when you're working in storyboards, so they wind up as giant masses.
Well, this is a good example of what we were saying earlier about not really knowing what the final design's going to look like. I'm fairly certain that we hadn't finished the designs for the golems here. We only knew that there was going to be one tiny cherry head one. But as far as the bodies go, I don't think we were even close to finishing it at this point.
Yeah.
They look really satisfying to slice through. I'd just like to have one set up like that in real life and just take a sword to it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I really like the way the way the animation came together with them reconstituting with all the fruit.
Yeah,
pretty cool shots.
Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge to get that right, but it turned out nicely. That's another thing you have to be careful of when you're designing a character. It's fine to design a character that looks good in a standard T-pose, but when these guys are moving their limbs and folding their arms and legs and stuff, you need to make sure that they can do that without having bits of their geometry clip itself.
You think about those sort of things, so that sometimes influences the decisions you make when it comes to the shots you compose and how you design the props and how you use them in the series.
It's very much dependent on the media as well, because if you decide last minute that you want something like a plane in the sky, in 2D it's much easier just to draw that plane and have it in the sky, but if you want that in 3D, you have to then model it, texture it, do a lot more than you would have to. So yeah, the storyboard phase is really the time when you work out what needs to be where and how you're going to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another little Easter egg, but this shot right here with Peng and Ralph cheering, the audio wasn't actually the actors. That I shouldn't be saying that.
I thought I was going to say the same thing if you didn't. It is fun getting to design a whole city like this. It's really fun seeing it go from flat orthographic turnarounds to this sort of three-dimensional city that characters interact in. It's very satisfying seeing that all come together.
I also like that they're throwing bombs around a gas station.
I do like the way Durian's swords turned out here. I like the snake heads, even if they are upside down when they're on his back.
Yeah, all the weapons turned out really cool in this series.
That's actually one of my favorite sequences in this episode. Turned out really well. I just like the color cards. It's just a really bold and coherent palette, and all the posing is really strong here as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without the fruit, we're just ordinary ninjas.
The voice performances in this series were, I think, fantastic. Some of the most fun I've had in my career at voice records with the actors.
I think it definitely comes through if the actors are enjoying themselves, especially on a show like this that's supposed to be just a little bit silly and not take itself too seriously. These bombs are specially designed to destroy wood, but not fruit. Which is why all the fruit is whole as it falls down. Another one of the challenges in this show was keeping track of all the tiny bits of fruit that landed everywhere. It's amazing how hard it is just to make sure that the same lemon is by the same character's foot, or that everything's in the right spot and that the splatters are all in the same place. That's something that takes a lot of time and effort, and is one of those things that if it's done right, you don't notice it, but if it's wrong, you definitely do notice it.
Yeah, and when we review them in grayscale, it's even more difficult.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to keep track by shape, and it's easy to miss things.
Exactly. A coconut and an orange look very similar when they're not textured.
Yeah.
Bananas and pineapples, not so hard.
Lemons and limes a little tricky, but
That's true, yeah.
what is it? Blueberries and pomegranates, because the blueberries tend to be
that's
large
right.
in this show.
And red apples and green apples, forget it. There was a whole extra part to this scene that we had to cut just for time, but yeah, that's it. You'll never see it, so there.
It can be really tough when you're working with like a really strong storyboard and a strong story. Choosing where to make those cuts, it's kind of tough. Make those calls.
Yeah, most of the time, when most scripts and most animatics run over, it's fairly rare that you'll have one that goes under. So inevitably, there's always parts of the episode you cut. And on an episode that was as fun to work on as this one, it's pretty tough to pick something that you have to get rid of. I originally wanted to have Sensei hit by a car at the end of that episode, but we weren't allowed to put that in.